Hello everyone, how are you today? My name is Michaela Valletta, also known as the Body Scientist. And in case you were unfamiliar with me, I have a background in exercise and sports science and nutrition, sports nutrition, and I am also a birth worker. I study birth and just all the ways we could take our body to its highest level. So that includes sports performance. And to me, childbirth is similar to that. But, just prevention of diseases and optimal health, okay? And my approach to nutrition, I very much believe in whole foods and getting your nutrients from nature as much as possible, okay? I have several videos on my YouTube page about the problem with supplements and protein powders and vitamins and stuff like that. So you can definitely check those videos out. And I'll also be placing them below in this YouTube video. I'm recording this live on Instagram, but I'll be reposting it to my YouTube page, The Body Scientist 81. So today I wanted to talk about prenatal vitamins, okay? So in general, I don't think that vitamins are healthy when people buy artificial vitamins because they are not in the correct chemical form. When you buy iron or vitamin D or vitamin A as a vitamin, it's in a artificial chemical form that was made in a laboratory. That is not the same chemical form that we find in nature. And so therefore it does not have the same effect on our bodies that the natural form has. Sometimes it has no effect, and sometimes it's toxic, okay, and actually poisonous. Like, it's well known that taking iron as a supplement is not good. Iron as a supplement actually feeds cancer cells. It feeds the candida yeast in your gut that leads to all kinds of diseases, and it causes constipation and a bunch of other problems. So ideally, you want to get iron from your food, which would be liver, red meat, egg yolks. And those are the best sources of iron. There is heme iron and non-heme iron, okay? So non-heme iron is the iron that's in plants. Heme iron is the iron that's in animals. The iron that is in animals is way more absorbable, way more bioavailable, which means our body can uptake it and use it way better than the iron from plants. The iron from plants, which is called non-heme iron, becomes more absorbable when you combine it with heme iron or vitamin C. So, like spinach is high, it has iron, but the iron in spinach is more bioavailable, which means it's more extractable and usable when it's combined with plant iron, hence steak and spinach, okay? Or some lemon, some vitamin C, okay? And so, in this country, I've done videos before on prenatal nutrition. What the mother and father eats prior to conception has everything to do with the health and the genetic expression of their offspring. There is a genotype and a phenotype. So just because you have the genes for something doesn't mean that they will be expressed. So you could have the genes to be tall, right? But if you don't get proper nutrition, you won't grow tall, all right? So genes can be turned on and off by certain things. So it's nature and nurture, okay? It's nature, the genetics you were given, and nurture, which is your environment, the foods you're exposed to, the things that you were exposed to, that also affects your genes and your genetic expression, okay? The genotype is the genes you have. The phenotype is what gets expressed of those genes. So in this country, in probably a lot of the world, but I'll say in the United States, people don't speak much about preparing for pregnancy and childbirth. Like, people just get pregnant and then it's like, oh, the doctor's like, oh, do you take you're taking a prenatal vitamin, and they just prescribe some prenatal vitamin. But really, it starts prior to conception, because most of the time when women find out they're pregnant, a lot of times the most critical points in that development has already occurred. So if you're greatly deficient in folate, if you're greatly deficient in vitamin A, it can affect the fetus, the baby, before you even know it, right? So I remember when I was in college, I took a class called Nutrition of the Lifespan, and the professor would always say, if you're a woman of childbearing age, and even if you don't want kids, if you know that if you got pregnant tomorrow, if you found out you were pregnant tomorrow and you knew you wouldn't have an abortion, then you should be eating a pre-fertility diet now. Okay, there's certain nutrients and stuff you should make sure you have now. That's really important. I remember in graduate school also, professors would stress that, right? And so probably, I don't know how many years ago, I came across someone named Weston A. Price, who I highly recommend that you check out his research. I wish I had his book here, but I didn't have time to find it. But he wrote an excellent book called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. Weston A. Price was an American dentist that in the 30s traveled all around the world to remote places in Europe and Africa, South America, the Polynesian Islands, and he studied indigenous people and the foods they ate prior to colonization. A lot of them had been like first generation colonization with roads and eating processed foods. And somebody just wrote, during the last part of pregnancy, if you're having a daughter, the mother creates the eggs that will become her grandchildren. Yes, that is true. And when females are born, we are born with all of the eggs that we'll have for our life. So Weston A. Price went, to these places, and he wanted to see, he saw that just one generation after people started eating the white man's foods, and he was a white man, and what he called the white man's foods was sugar, flour, and vegetable oil, okay? He started noticing serious differences in the health, in the facial structure, dental health, issues with childbirth, because a lot of indigenous people, birth was easy for them. They didn't need help all the time. Like there's many stories of Native American women giving birth by themselves at night while the man was asleep, and it was an easy thing. So women didn't start needing help and having all these complications until these foods came around, and there was a difference in the pelvic structure. And he took the foods that they were eating, he took them to his lab and tested them for vitamins, and he saw that they were eating like 10, 20 times more vitamin A, more vitamin D, more iron, all that stuff than we were eating, and than we were being told that we needed, okay? And as a nutrition student, even on a graduate level, we learned a lot about these RDAs, which is the recommended dietary allowance. And that is what, the ADA, the American Dietetic Association, tells us how much vitamin C we need each day, how much vitamin D we need each day, how much iron we need each day. But the thing about those recommendations, they're too low. And it comes from research of like starving people in like hospitals and them looking at what point was the nutrient so low that they were damn near dying, and that's where they got this information from. So it wasn't really good or adequate information. And so a lot of times what we're told we need, the amounts of certain nutrients, is actually way lower than what we actually need, and it's way lower than what Weston A. Price found in his research. And when he went on this journey, he thought that he was going to find populations in the world that just ate plant foods, but he didn't. He did not. What he did find was that people ate local foods no matter where they were, okay? And some people didn't eat meat, but they ate insects, okay? They ate bone marrow, they ate blood, all right? And people ate what was around them, what was locally available and in season, okay? And so think about it. If you live in the desert, if you were indigenous to Canada or North America, the northern part of North America where it's cold and it's winter, where are you getting vegetables at? Where? So there are actually populations who didn't really eat vegetables, like Eskimos and stuff like that. But everybody ate some type of animal foods, and we are omnivores, okay? Humans are omnivores. We eat plant and animal foods. And the truth is that indigenous people rarely ate meat. They really ate flesh, okay? The flesh. They ate the organ meats. Even if you look at animals, when they hunt and kill, they go for the organs first. They leave the flesh, for scavengers. It's the organs, it's the heart, it's the liver, it's the pancreas, the lungs, the brain, the eyeballs, okay? And when you look throughout the world, you see that people eat those foods throughout the world. You find blood sausage throughout the world. And that's one of the things I liked about Anthony Bourdain. Even though when he was traveling, he wasn't focused on what was healthy, but he focused a lot on traditional foods. And I noticed everywhere he went, people ate blood sausage. Everywhere he went, people were eating organ meats. Everywhere he went, people ate pork unless it was a Muslim country, okay? And so it was very much in alignment with these things that Weston A. Price knew and discovered, but Anthony Bourdain was reporting about it from that perspective, okay? So with that being said, when a woman finds out she's pregnant, like doctors would just say, oh, are you taking a prenatal? And they just prescribe whatever random prenatal. But just like all the other kinds of vitamins that exist, prenatals are toxic. A lot of times there are a lot of toxic additives, okay, artificial colors, which are highly cancer causing, and a whole lot of additives that are very toxic and unhealthy, okay, and this is prenatal vitamins and other vitamins, okay. The chemical form, right, like folic acid is something that people talk about a lot, that pregnant women need folic acid to prevent spina bifida, but really it's folate, okay. Folic acid and folate are not the same thing chemically. Folic acid is found in fortified foods and vitamin supplements. Folate is found naturally, okay? Folate is found naturally in food. And folate is found in liver, and it's found in egg yolks and fish eggs. It is found in leafy green vegetables, okay? Sometimes in beans, but beans have to be prepared properly. Folic acid does not cross the placenta, okay? So it's folate. Again, with iron, you know, the artificial chemical form of iron is super toxic. Okay, it feeds, like I said, it feeds cancer cells. It feeds a bad bacteria in our gut called the Candida yeast. It causes constipation. But you can get iron, okay, from eating red meat, from eating liver, from eating egg yolks, all things that people in the world have eaten for generations, right? So when a woman is pregnant, she needs increased nutrition. Like I said, it starts prior to that, but, you know, definitely during that time, she needs increased nutrition. So, you know, one of the things that I think is, so there are a few things that I would recommend, right? So I'm not against supplements, whole food supplements, but not with actual vitamin pills. So vitamin A and vitamin D, which is something that's important for all of us, for our immune system. And everybody I know, I don't care where they're from, whether they're American, whether they're Asian, whether they're Caribbean, whether they are African, everybody who's like at least 30 and over has told me that they were given cod liver oil as a kid. We were all given cod liver oil as a kid. For some reason, I think kids nowadays don't know about cod liver oil, right? And most of us, everybody that I know that's 30 and above, said they were forced to eat liver as a kid. And it seems like people who are 60 and over love liver, okay? But people who are younger than that usually don't. But we remember being forced to eat it as a kid, and it was like a torturous memory. But liver is very high in vitamins D and vitamin A and iron. And vitamin D and vitamin A we need for our immune system, critically important. So with this whole COVID thing, everybody's been talking about vitamin D. But vitamin D by itself, if you go to the store and just buy vitamin D, it's actually very toxic because vitamin D needs vitamin A. For every unit of vitamin D, you need vitamin A. Vitamin D is also a fat-soluble vitamin, so it needs fat, okay? So you don't just buy vitamin D. Also, vitamin A in supplement forms in fortified foods is usually in the form of beta-carotene. Beta-carotene is not vitamin A. It's not true vitamin A. Beta-carotene is a precursor of vitamin A, which means it can be made into vitamin A, but you need lots of saturated fat in order to make that happen. And it doesn't happen in babies, and the elderly, and people with metabolic issues. But so think about how you see people cook spinach with butter. They put a lot of butter in their yams. You have peaches and cream, bananas and cream, strawberries and cream. So the combination of a fruit and vegetable with lots of saturated fat helps to extract the beta-carotene and possibly convert it into vitamin A, and also extract other nutrients, okay? Because again, vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin. One of the best ways to remember what the fat-soluble vitamins are is the last half of my name. Vitamins K, E, D, and A. Those are the fat-soluble vitamins, which means you need fat in order to even absorb them, okay? So cod liver oil, one of the best, and not all supplements are created equal. I do have some videos on my YouTube page to talk about this. You can look through it. But cod liver oil, this cod liver oil, this is a very good brand. This is a fermented cod liver oil. And it's made by, and this also has butter oil, okay? So it's cod liver oil and butter oil. The cod liver oil is high in vitamin A and D. The butter oil is high in vitamin K. And they work together. They work synergistically together to be even more potent than just cod liver oil on its own. And this one is made by a company called Green Pastures, okay? And it's raw and it's fermented, all right? It's also high in the omega-3 fats that we need for our brain function and our immune system as well. So I would never recommend, taking vitamin D pill, but I do recommend cod liver oil. It's really important to prevent illness, keep your immune system up, and vitamin A is critical for the development of baby and a fetus. For sexual development, sexual differentiation, vitamin A tells the cells what to do. And so without proper vitamin A, you have a lot of issues, okay? A lot of developmental issues. Vitamin D is linked to like practically every disease, okay? But preeclampsia, which is something that's very common, gestational diabetes, something that's very common amongst pregnant women, especially black women, is definitely linked to a vitamin D deficiency, among other things. Also zinc and salt and other things. And zinc is also high in animal foods. It's high in red meat, it's high in seafood, okay? And so, again, no matter where you come from in the world, I'm sure you know about cod liver oil. We need to go back to basics, to traditional foods. People have been living on this planet for thousands and thousands of years. Think about how women used to have 10, 13, 14 babies like it was nothing. Now women have 1 or 2 and it takes the life out of them. And a lot of times those babies are sickly and they have allergies and they got concentration problems and this problem and that problem. Kids nowadays are sicker than they ever have been, okay? Just check the stats. So cod liver oil is super important. Another thing, with Weston A. Price that I forgot to mention is that he discovered sacred foods, that the different cultures that he visited, they had sacred foods that they ate pre-conception, okay, men and women both, and then the women continued to eat during pregnancy and breastfeeding, okay? Very important because, some people will say, oh, any breast milk is good, but that's not true. The breast milk, the quality of the breast milk depends on the mother's diet. So if a mother is eating, McDonald's and Doritos and soda and processed foods and low nutrient foods, her breast milk is going to be very low nutrient. And sometimes that then causes a baby who's crying and fussy because they're not getting the right nutrients. They're not growing properly. So it's critically important that a woman, while she's pregnant and breastfeeding, continues to eat these foods. And so one of the things that he found was raw milk, like the Maasai in Africa, they consumed mostly cow's milk and cow's blood, okay? Some cultures, it was fish eggs, okay, if they were close to the sea. Fish eggs is also very high in vitamin A and vitamin D and iron. It was liver. It was also one of those sacred foods that pregnant women, breastfeeding women consumed. Also very high in vitamin A and D, iron, high quality proteins, zinc, stuff like that. So fish eggs, if you don't have access to it, like, a lot of times sushi, you can find it with sushi. You can buy caviar, you can buy fish roe, you can put it on some toast, right? The other option is, there's this supplement here. It's made by a company called Ancestral Supplements. I think they make very good whole food supplements, okay? And this right here is wild-caught fish eggs, okay? And this is made by Ancestral Supplements. You can find them online on Instagram. So this is a good one to take, okay? So it's not a vitamin A or vitamin D pill. It's a whole food supplement. Then, if you're not able to get liver in your diet, and chicken liver has an even better balance of vitamin D and vitamin A than beef liver, right? But if you can't stomach liver and you can't, you can have liver pate. You can have liver pate, you can cook liver, you can have liver and onions, liver and bacon. You can take raw liver, frozen raw liver, and throw it in a blender and a shake. But if that's not possible, here you have, this is grass-fed beef liver, okay, desiccated pills, also made by Ancestral Supplements. And they get things from, they're all pasture-raised, grass-fed, hormone and pesticide-free. Okay, there are no toxic additives in here, okay? So this is another good one. So if a woman was pregnant, and these are things you can take even if you're not, but I'm just saying, these are better than taking the prenatal vitamins, right? This is another good one, Blood Vitality. This is also made by Ancestral Supplements. And this one contains red and white blood cells, heme, iron, platelets, immune proteins, and New Zealand grass-fed liver and spleen, okay? Now again, if you think about it, do the research. Many cultures around the world consume blood. They consume blood sausage, they consume blood pudding. There are many different meals that people consume with blood. Nowadays, and people who are eating, we've moved away from traditional foods. And a lot of people are grossed out by that, but a lot of people in the world definitely still consume blood. And when it comes to food, like heals like. So consuming blood is good for your blood. So even if you are somebody that had blood issues, or you are somebody who is very anemic, okay, or not iron pills, but this, okay, and liver would be good for an anemic person. And also eating red meat and eggs. But if you needed something extra, it would be these things. And eating eggs is good for your eggs. And there are places in the world where men eat cow balls or testicles of different animals. It's actually good for their testosterone and their testicular health, okay? If you have a heart problem, eating heart is good for you. So if you have a problem with a certain organ, consuming that organ is actually good for you. And this is found throughout the world as well. Do your research, okay? Check out Weston A. Price's work. Then also bone broth. There's something that I talk about, and I keep saying I'm gonna do a video about bone broth. I need to also do a video about cod liver oil because, first of all, fish oil, no bueno, okay? Fish oil is not good. I will do a video about that at some point when I get a chance, but fish oil is actually a toxic byproduct of the food industry. It is not good. You do not want to consume fish oil. Cod liver oil is what you want to consume, a high quality one, okay? And then bone broth, which all around the world you see people eat consume chicken broth, beef broth, pork broth. You know, you go to the Japanese ramen places, everything is pork broth, okay? And pork is very good for you. Also very high in vitamin A and vitamin D, okay? So if you're getting pork from healthy pigs, pasture-raised pigs, not the commercial food industry pigs, but pigs from the farm, lard and pig fat is also a very good source of vitamin A and vitamin D, okay? And lard is a traditional fat in many cultures. Black people in the South used to fry chicken and biscuits in lard. Mexicans made their tortillas in lard, okay? Lard is, in the Okinawa in Japan, who are the longest living, healthiest people in the world, consume lard every single day, okay? So pig fat, despite what people might think, is very, very good for you, okay? I did a video about that years ago that got deleted, so I have to do that again. But I will provide resources below my YouTube video for you to check out. I also highly recommend you check out Weston A. Price, and I'm going to show you a couple other books. But this right here is grass-fed bone and marrow, okay? So this is also good for somebody that might have leukemia or bone marrow cancer. You definitely want bone marrow broth, all right? And it's good for other things as well. Definitely for your immune system and building your bones and healthy, strong bones. And this one is made from New Zealand grass-fed whole bone extract, bone matrix, bone marrow, and cartilage. This is also good for people, this and bone broth is also good for people that might have joint issues, bone issues. You know, years ago, I used to recommend glucosamine and chondroitin to my clients that had knee problems and always help them. But glucosamine and chondroitin naturally occurs in bone broth, okay? So bone broth also helps with your immune system, critical. Rebuilding your gut, if you have gut issues, critical, okay? Somebody asked me about B vitamins. B vitamins are also very high in egg yolks and red meat, okay? So the thing, all right, so now this is also a good book, okay? Very good book that I highly recommend, all right? It's by Sally Fallon and a medical doctor named Thomas Cohen, MD. He's also very, very good. He also wrote a book on childhood vaccines and why they're so dangerous. This book is called The Nourishing Traditions Book of Baby and Child Care. And this book is very good and also has very good information. Then give you more information about what I'm talking about. Highly recommend it. This book, Real Food for Mother and Baby and the Baby's First Foods, written by Nina Plank. Also a very, very good book that goes into depth about these things, okay? Then there's a book called Deep Nutrition by a medical doctor named Catherine Shanahan, who's a medical doctor, and her husband, Luke Shanahan. Deep Nutrition, Why Our Genes Need Traditional Foods. I even have a picture of it on my Instagram page. So if you're on YouTube and you don't follow me on Instagram, be sure to follow me on Instagram because I post pictures of books and excerpts from books as well. And if you're on Instagram and you don't follow me on YouTube, be sure to follow me on YouTube because I have videos on YouTube that's not on Instagram, okay? So it's good to follow me in both places. The other thing is really important is probiotics. when a woman, just in general, and if people who follow me, I talk about this all the time, the importance of fermented foods, the importance of maintaining your microbiome. And, so you want to consume fermented foods. It could be fermented dairy, kefir, yogurt. It could be fermented vegetables like sauerkraut, fermented, lacto-fermented ginger. And traditional cultures all had fermented foods that they consumed daily with their meals, okay? And we have moved away from that, okay? In the U.S., ketchup, relish, they were traditionally fermented. Sauerkraut, now the way it's made commercially, it's not, okay? And we're constantly getting attacked, if you eat food from the commercial food industry, it's full of herbicides, antibiotics, pesticides that kill all your gut flora. Then you get given antibiotics for an infection, destroys your biome. Then people using this, artificial hand sanitizer destroys your microbiome. Your microbiome is your first line of defense against infectious disease. And when babies are born, if they're born vaginally, they inherit the microbiome of their mother. So if the mother has an unhealthy microbiome, she's going to pass that right on to the baby, inoculate the baby with that. Babies who are born by C-section are already born without that microbiome. They end up getting the microbiome from the hospital, which is no bueno, okay? The hospital is full of sickly infectious organisms, okay? But then if the baby is breastfed, the baby can get inoculated with the mother's bacteria. Then there's a second chance, okay? But again, if the mother's microbiome is not good, then you're going to inoculate the baby with a microbiome that's not good. So it's really important for a pregnant woman also to maintain her microbiome and have a lot of good bacteria. But it's important even if you're not pregnant. But definitely more so when you are, because now you're responsible for another life and the health of that baby. And, so it's important for a pregnant woman to eat lots of fermented foods. Also, when women have an imbalance of bacteria during pregnancy, it can lead to preterm labor and other infections taking root during her pregnancy that can affect the baby in utero and during, when they come out. So that's just my quick video on the topic. I actually have to run, but this is a video I've been wanting to do for a while. So I will, on this YouTube video, post other resources below for you to look at. I highly suggest you look at the books that I recommended, and yeah, that's it. Check it out on your own. I'm telling you, I do not endorse prenatal vitamins or any vitamins, okay? Everything that I showed you, these are not vitamins. They are whole food supplements where if you consume them, you're getting the vitamins along with other things. Vitamins don't work by themselves. They don't work by themselves, okay? That's the problem with medication. All the commercial medication, they get it from, they go to the Amazon or something and they see what people have used for different illnesses, different herbs, and they extract the so-called active ingredient, and then they patent that, and then they give that to you. And then there are side effects, because that so-called active ingredient needs everything else in the plant in order for it to work correctly. When you isolate it, then it becomes a drug, and it becomes has toxic-like effects. The same thing is true with vitamins. They need other vitamins and nutrients and macronutrients and micronutrients in order to work properly. When you isolate it and then you make some artificial laboratory form, it's not the same thing, okay? It is not. And so this is the reason why, I made a video about why you should be careful why you shouldn't take nutrition advice from your doctors, because most of them don't know what they're talking about unless it's the doctors that I've recommended. And very few of them know anything about nutrition. And then even a lot of dietitians are miseducated, because all the nutrition programs in this country are funded by the food industry, okay? Just like all of the medical programs in this country are funded by the drug companies, and they are the same people. I talk about this all the time, okay? The graduate program I was in was at Columbia University, was the only nutrition program in the country that did not take money from the food industry. The only one, okay? The only one. So my education wasn't tainted by that, and I was made very aware of the BS. So definitely on my YouTube page, check out the books that I recommend, and check out the resources that I post below in this YouTube video. And I see some people asking some questions. I'm trying to answer one real quick. Any other questions, just put them on my page, and I'll try to answer them when I can. But I would say take them with food. I mean, you may not need to take them with food, but I say just take them with food, or if you're drinking raw milk or something, because it just probably works with everything to help absorb properly. I don't think that it matters if you take it on an empty stomach, but my personal thing, I would just take it with at least, like usually when I take my supplements, I'm drinking a raw milk shake. I might make a raw milk shake with a egg yolk in it sometimes, just some kefir. I might take it then. So, because raw milk is like a food. I usually don't take it on an empty stomach with water. That's not how I take. That's not how I take them, because I think of it like food, you know. But it might be okay. I'm not saying it's not okay. So, yeah, so I'm going to end it here. I'm always available for personal evaluations. You can always email me, thebodyscientist81@gmail.com. Be sure to follow me on YouTube and on IG. And have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.